guys, Bob Brown, and welcome to my Facebook and YouTube channel. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera adjusted there. Today is Thursday, February 17th, 2017. So this is about General Flynn and the CIA, Trump's presidency and peril, and all kinds of mayhem and nonsense in Washington, D.C. Number one, General Flynn, from all indications, didn't do anything wrong other than he lied or white lied to Mike Pence, and that's what got him fired. Of course, you know, Bill and Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, and even Barack Obama, they green-lighted the sale of 20% of the U.S. uranium to Russia. Crimea fell while Obama's in the White House. Coincidence? So, talk about Red Scare nonsense, but you know, I would ask, why did Crimea fall? Nothing was done about it. Not that you really could do anything about it. And then there's this big sale of uranium to Russia. I'd be more suspicious of that than General Flynn's commentary. Flynn fell for a trap because they're trying to push this Russian scare, Red Scare. You know, we've had multiple Russian scares and Red Scares in American history. Back in the 1920s. There was a Red Scare, and then, of course, the McCarthy era in the 1950s, which interesting. I just happened to see Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, and that whole commentary was one of the characters talking to Indiana Jones said, you know, they're having us see communists in our soup. So that's a good line for today. Flynn's problem was he's military, and the military mind thinks a certain way. And Flynn, although he was pretty hardened guy, he wasn't really used to the duplicity of Washington, D.C. So let me point out a video that I put up there that I think has actually been taken down by Facebook. And I talked about that Trump was inaugurated, and then I made a video, kind of a clowning around video, but that's when I'm most serious. I said, you know, let the ass whoopings begin. Let the ass whoopings begin! Because I knew the CIA was going to be at the center of this mess. Well, what Trump did was very CEO-like. So the very next day, and this is very important, so he's inaugurated on Friday. Saturday, he's over at Langley, Virginia, talking to the CIA. Because it's recognized that, hey, this is a big problem. We've got a big intelligence issue. We've got leaking, we got Edward Snowden, we've got Chelsea Manning, we've got WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. We got all kinds of, you know, craziness going on over here. Hillary Clinton's private email server. So he had to get a handle on this. But Trump behaved like a good CEO. He said, okay, this is kind of a hostile takeover in some of these people's minds. So he went there and he held out the olive branch and said, hey, you know, I'm on your side. Let's work together. Let's defeat ISIS. Let's defeat all this. And like I've said in other videos, 95% or better of the CIA and NSA, and maybe it's as high as 99% of those people are on our side, and they're good people. But it doesn't take many in the key places to cause trouble and maximize the mayhem. And that's what happened. So there's a deep state, as they talk about, and what that means is there's just people in key positions, and these aren't always the apparent people. My dad always talked about the hidden leaders. There are hidden leaders within these organizations. And so these deep state hidden leaders are causing trouble. They don't like that Trump won. They're upset that Trump won. Well, why are they upset? Well, there's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of dirt from the Iraq War. There's a lot of dirt on all the money spent. There's a lot of dirt on the civilians killed. A lot of dirt on the drone program. There's a lot of dirt there. And I would tell everyone, it's going to come out eventually. Trump will get it out eventually. He's in a rough patch now. So Trump went over there, he puts out the olive branch, he tries to act like a CEO of a company that bought another company, and he's told, hey, there's some hostility here. They don't like the fact that the old company sold and the new management's coming in. That happens in all organizations. So Trump did what any modern CEO would do. He went there and said, hey, I'm not the enemy. There's going to be some changes, yeah, but we're going to get this thing going in the right direction for everybody's benefit. And of course, in any acquisition, there's going to be fallout. People are going to lose their jobs. And those are the people that are worried the most. And they can start subtle sabotage. Subtle sabotage is the phrase. Subtle sabotage. Subtle sabotage happens in a lot of organizations. Subtle sabotage could be as simple as just making comments that, you know, well, I don't really like this place anymore. The new management team, they just don't make me feel right here. That's kind of sabotaging, because you're not really saying anything direct, but you are saying, sorry, we're on some rough roads here with the camera. We're saying, we're saying just general, we're putting a general air of discontent around ourselves, and we're putting a general air of discontent around the management team. So we're subtly sabotaging, and it can be very, 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 very subtle sabotage. And the subtle saboteur what they will do is that they will never get caught. They're not going to do emails or voicemails. They're going to do innuendo. They're not going to name names. They'll try to get you to think of things. An example would be, around here there are some people that just don't carry their share of the work. You know what I mean? Or you know who I mean? Or you know what I'm talking about? And the person goes, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So it's almost like telepathy. So the person planted in your mind a name. They didn't want to say it. They didn't want to say the name because they don't want to be held accountable in a court of law. Because all I can say is, well, I just made a general comment that some people weren't pulling the weight around here as much as they should. Well, who are you talking about? Well, no one in general, just a general thing I was observing. But in actual fact, the subtle saboteur is saying, I really want to put a name in your head, and then when I see that you're picking up on what I'm saying, I've now transferred that meme into your brain, and now you're going to spread it. And you may be dumb enough to start naming names. Like, well, John Smith is not pulling his weight, or Bob Brown's not pulling his weight around here. And then you get busted for saying that, but the subtle saboteur, he doesn't. And you may never even remember what the subtle saboteur has done. You may not remember it. These people are very, very effective, these subtle saboteurs. That's what Trump's facing. You may be facing this in your business, these subtle saboteurs. They're very, very effective. Are they psychotics? They could be. But they're very effective. They won't use email. They won't use voicemail. Everything's innuendo. Everything's oblique. They make oblique references all the time. There's always kind of a slight air of negativity around them, but you never can pin it down. But in front of the big bosses, man, they're Mr. Positive. Everything's just super positive here. So beware the subtle saboteur, and beware like I tell people, control your own internal narrative. Control your own internal narrative. Some people come in and say, man, it's going to be a really shitty day. Well, that's their internal narrative. That shouldn't be your internal narrative. Your internal narrative, or at least mine is, I want to have a positive day. I want to get a lot of work done. I want to be working for the common good of my fellow colleagues, my family, et cetera, et cetera. So control that internal narrative, because people will they're trying to latch onto that narrative in your head. They're trying to plant thoughts in your mind. That's what they're doing. That's what this deep state crap that's going on with Trump. There are useful pawns, useful idiots being manipulated by these subtle saboteurs. They're walking around saying, they're in offices right now down there in Langley. They're at the British Petroleum Building. They're at Aetna up in Indianapolis. They're everywhere. And they walk around and they make these subtle comments like, things would be better around here if we just had a different style of management. See, that's a subtle sabotage. Because and that may be a legitimate statement, but it's the way they deliver it, and it's who to deliver it to. Because maybe they know that you're unhappy because you got a bad review. So you know what I mean? And then they're planting that thought in your head of your manager's name, like, yeah, if my manager wasn't here, things would be a lot better. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but that's what subtle saboteurs do. They really create a toxic environment subtly around you, and it's a slow, steady poisoning of the business or government or office or operational environment. It's a slow, steady. So the answer to all leaders are, and this is a long video, I'm sorry, is that you must always surround yourself with positive-minded people. Not yes men, but positive-minded people. People that are willing to tell you what's what, when you need to know it, then you need to know the bad news. And there's always going to be bad news every day in business, because businesses only exist to solve problems. That's what I tell people. There's no business on earth that doesn't exist other than to solve a problem. So if you're solving problems, you're going to be dealing with problems. So anyway, that's what's going on with Trump. That's what's going on with a lot of businesses. You know, these subtle saboteurs, these people that go around and, you know, they do all kinds of crazy things. I mean, it just amazes me. You know, I hear stories all the time of businesses and these people, and they, like I say, if a person isn't focused on the business, they're not focused on the business.